Great. Hello everyone, how are you doing? I suppose, as Ursula said, we like to be very productive at Magico, so that is why I'm here. And if you haven't noticed a trend, for those of you that are here for a couple of summits now, the numbers are my game. If you're not looking at the numbers, you're missing out on something. And I suppose that's why we did a dashboard upgrade. You all have access to this now. You probably logged in, some of you, one day and spotted that it looked a little bit different, but it was going on in the background for a long period of time, so it was great to come back and to see it live and for you to get access to it. So when you log on now, this is your dashboard, as you will hopefully be familiar with. We have at a glance view of everything, your overall KPIs. We also have a couple of reports down here, as you'll see the other key reports on the blue buttons. They're just some reports that were on the old dashboard that haven't been updated just yet, but in certain aspects they're in the analytics as well, but just so that you have an overview of those reports from what they looked previously like. So we'll get going. I suppose the main thing that you will have heard us talk about in the last couple of years is all around your KPIs, and these are the fairly obvious ones that you look at a glance. You want to be able to see them. So you have your total revenue, your sessions, your conversion rate, total orders, items ordered, and your average order value. One thing actually that I do want to say that keep in mind throughout this presentation, it is demo data on one of our demo sites. So as we move through, you'll see there's percentages that might not add up to 100, they might be just a little bit higher, but I hopefully will get the point across anyway for you. So yeah, this is the main page. You see the KPIs that I just mentioned. You also have an at-a-glance view of the sales in the last 7 days. We've got some feedback from our retailers that actually find this quite useful in determining the busiest days of the week as well, and that they'll spot a trend at a glance from just looking from consistently looking at the dashboard of, okay, actually Monday was busier last week, but this month I've noticed that Saturday is the busiest day. Now that can be directly related obviously to promotions, events, new products, seasonality, depending on your industry as well. So you have the at-a-glance sales data from the last 7 days. You have a really nice pie chart that probably is a little bit construed because, again, demo data, but will look a lot more professional in your own dashboards. Well, within reason, I suppose. We'll get into some of that as well as we move through the reports and what you should kind of be looking out for in terms of these reports. You have your category analytics, your brand analytics, and you also have your product analytics at a glance on this page. We'll get into the more detailed reports now in just a second. One of the biggest things that I personally really enjoy about the new release is our custom date range. It is very advanced. It's exactly what you need for whatever time period. So outside of just being able to choose your dates, so you can choose yesterday, this week, last week, calendar year, this calendar year, or you can put in a custom date range, which is actually what I'm going to do just for today's presentation. I'm going to choose March in 2024, so the 1st to the 31st. But you can also compare that date range in a couple of different instances. You can do the preceding period, which would be the month before, the same period last year, or you can compare it to a custom date range in a different period. That is very useful for those of you in the business that maybe meet the likes of your brand reps or your sales reps, and you have the same promotions every month or every year, and you're planning for that, the December, January for the next year. You can actually check your figures from that time you had that promotion in the previous year, and that may influence your offer for this year or may influence your ordering as well. So it is very helpful. For this, I'm going to choose the same period as last year, and I'm just going to hit apply. So you'll see there that my figures have slightly changed. So again, you can see the overview, but you can then drill down into every single one of these reports. We're going to start with your products. So you'll see here, this is the top products report. You'll see my date range is still available on the top, so if you want to change that at any stage, you can. But you'll see I haven't touched it to move into top products, so if you set it once, it'll stick to that date range as you move through your reports. The one big thing we wanted as well in terms of creating this dashboard is to have an overview of that period as you move through the more detailed reports. So you'll see all those key performance indicators down the right hand side, and you'll also see if there was an increase or a decrease from within the periods that you have set if you're using the comparison. So in terms of what data is there, you have the revenue, you have the stock, and you have add to basket. So you can choose your data set based on your top products. You can also then press show extra columns, which is super handy. You can see the brand, the category, and the subcategory if it is applicable to that product. So it's very helpful. One of the big things that some of our customer success program retailers that are in the room will be aware as well is that when we do those monthly reviews with you, we analyse your product detail page. So it's very important to us that you were still able to click direct into that product to review that product detail page. Again, this is demo data, demo site, so I'm not going to click on this because it'll just take us to a blank page. But if you're going home or if you have your website open in front of you, you will be able to click on that and you'll be able to review your product detail page. You can also sort this table based on the columns, so you've current price, item views, quantity sold, orders, and of course revenue. In terms of this and all the reports I'm going to go through, the top products, categories and brands, you will see that you can actually export all this data as well into a CSV file, which can be very helpful. Especially, if you're looking at this daily and you have maybe a quarterly meeting with another person in the business, you can export that as well. So just moving down, just one other thing actually that I want to mention. So I've navigated to this report from the dashboard. You can also navigate if you're halfway through the website and you're like, I need to go back. You can obviously press on dashboard, but if you click on analytics and AB commerce analytics, it takes you to the reports down the left hand side as well, just in case you're halfway through and you don't want to go back to dashboard and do another few clicks. There is that option as well. You have a top categories report. As you see, date range is still the same. My KPIs down the right hand side are still the same because it's for the same time period. You will see that there's 3 levels of data that you can click on here, which won't be applicable to everybody, but we do have some retailers that would have 3rd level categorization on the website. But you can do your primary category and your subcategory as well. Again, you can sort this table by your category views, your item views, quantity sold, and your revenue, and all the data will change. One of the other big things here is that, so you'll see the example here, the category is hand tools, but if I want to see my subcategories in that overall category, I can click on that from here. You can also click to view your top products within that category, which is also very useful. So again, if you're talking to a sales rep or you're planning for ordering for a busy period and you've already done this promotion at a previous time and you have an idea of the dates, you can pop those in. You can pop into your top categories or brands, be it, and you can pick out your top products from there. So yeah, there is your top categories. And just in relation to why you look at these analytics and the reports and why, we know at a glance, some people don't look at their analytics at all. We know some people look at the numbers when they need to know them. And then we also have retailers that, are looking at them consistently, but they're not maybe taking insights or actions from them. So I suppose just as a couple of examples, again, this is where I mean that it's demo data. So you'll see that hand tools is making up 73% of the revenue, so it obviously doesn't add up there, but just for an example. In some instances, this is only a month range, but if this was a yearly range, you might be a little bit concerned as to, right, I have one category here that is giving me 73% of my revenue. If something happens with that category, if somebody else in my market becomes more competitive than me, will my revenue drop if it has taken up 70% of my revenue, which is very important. Again, this is only for a month date range. There may be a simple explanation. It could be a category that had a promotion on it. It could be this week, and it could be sun care that is, skewing that. So sometimes there is reasons, but if you're looking at this in a quarterly or a yearly review, that's something just to keep an eye on in terms of how much categories or brands make up your total revenue. We would do these calls with some retailers and you'd see that maybe the top 2 categories would make up 70% of their revenue. Not as worrying, but you still have to be aware of that and plan for it. You know, make sure that you are competitive, make sure that those categories are up to standard. If we move down then to hardware here on line 3, you'll see that the revenue, so yeah, you'll see actually as well here, something that I meant to mention is your percentages. Some are in red and some are in green, so positive and negative, what has grown, what has decreased. You'll see that hardware, the category views had grown by 36% this year versus last year, but the revenue was down and your quantity sold was down. So again, there may be an obvious reason for that, but if there isn't, are you clicking into that category and finding out the reason? Is it that you're not competitive in that category? Do you not have enough products in there? Is there pricing an issue? Are you making comparisons to your competitors? Was there a pricing increase? Did you increase before somebody else? Is there delivery issues? You know, what's your delivery on that category, which I know would probably be a big one in terms of our hardware retailers in the room. You know, delivery is probably one of the bigger issues in terms of certain size products. So it's just good to kind of, like, it's good to know that, right, okay, hardware, geez, that didn't do as well now this year, but what's the reason behind it? Are you looking for that insight, and are you making an action outside of that insight? Another example here then would be your safety gear. So again, you'll see that that is only 1% of the revenue. Again, demo data here. But the 1% of your revenue, and that's a really ideal category. So your safety gear would be clothing, all easy items that you can maybe deliver, get packaged out, get off the shop floor, make margin on. You know, are these categories that you have margin on? What area is your highest performing area internally outside of getting it delivered? You know, does it make sense to maybe increase safety gear and reduce power tools? You'll see power tools has 19% of the revenue, but is that a little bit harder to deliver? Is it a little bit harder to, you know, have a warranty behind if that's an issue? So these are all the types of insights that, okay, it's grand to say, yeah, I look at my numbers, but do you make actions from them? Can you spot these insights? And I suppose that's where we're hoping we'll get some of you to get that out of today, you know, right, okay, I need to set time aside and I need to be able to look at these, and I need to not just look at the numbers, I need to look at the reasons behind it. Within all of these tables as well, they're all clickable, as I mentioned, so you can click into the overall category, you can click in the subcategory and the top products. If you click into your products, is there products in that category that are out of stock? You know, is there products in that category with a lower price point that are elevated higher on the page? Do you need to move them down further? You know, do you have maybe dynamic merchandising in that category to show a wider range of what's available? So these are all things, the questions that you need to ask yourself, or, you know, that need to be pointed out. And that's just an example of some of them. And again, sometimes there will be an obvious answer and only somebody internal to the business will know that, but outside of that, then it's just making sure that you're questioning everything. So that's your categories. We have your top brands as well. Again, same data here, you can export, you have your overall KPIs over there. You can sort this table by revenue, your category views, item views, and your quantity sold. And again, within your brands, you can click on your top products for that time period within that brand as well. The final report then is your top search terms. So we don't have data against it for this example, but I did want to mention it because in your own websites, there's obviously going to be data there. And a good reason for looking at this is maybe you have products in store that aren't available on your website yet, but you know people are searching for them. So that's one way of looking at it. Another area is if you are trying to get a brand into your store and it hasn't quite landed yet, but you know people are also looking for that. It's a bit of backup for that as well. And again, you might be looking at that in a more of a quarterly review rather than a monthly, but it will show you the search term down the left-hand side and how many times it was searched on the right-hand side. So they were the main points that I wanted to just touch on in terms of what's available in the reports. But I suppose the biggest question here then is who should be doing it and why should you be doing it? And I suppose I've touched on it there a lot in terms of talking about the insights that we pull. I suppose the people that should be thinking about this is those that reporting and analysis is at the bottom of your to-do list. You know, it is one of those things, I must do that, but it never gets done. Are you reactive instead of proactive? Which I know a lot of people start like that, but we do encourage you to have some issue of a comms plan, even if it is in their head, like Jason's from Country Farm Supplies. And we also get a lot of conversations from retailers that may have had a decrease in numbers or a stagnation in their KPIs where, okay, we've hit a plateau, we need to increase, we need to change things up. And we're there to have that conversation with you. If you feel like after today, right, I'm looking at my numbers and I am going to pull insights, and 2 months later you're still not pulling those insights, come talk to us. Look, we'll have a conversation, see what works for everybody. And the reasons behind doing that is you're going to make your smarter decisions, you're going to optimize your marketing based on those insights, you're going to improve your products and inventory, like we said, you know, you're looking at your categories, your brands, what's available. You're going to enhance your customer experience because you've improved your products and your inventory. And you're going to be able to track your growth and set more realistic goals as well. And obviously that all leads to uncovering more opportunities. We can help in terms of this. I know there's a lot of you in the room that have done these calls with us and have done the full customer success program, and we check in on. We do hour-long calls, monthly, quarterly. We make it fit to what you need. I suppose we can help in terms of being an extension of your internal team. And, you know, we're really there to help, even if, you know, those consistent calls, you know, they're just a bit heavy initially. Like, just come talk to us. We are quite adaptable, and I hope you've all realised that by now, that we do like to help you in terms of whatever works best for you. In terms of getting these over the line and getting to talk to us and getting those constant reviews, there is a Grow Digital voucher as well that's available from the local enterprise offices that can help out in some of these aspects. So I'll be around all day like that. Any of the guys will be there to have a chat with you as well, but I hope I drilled home enough that insights is my word of the day. But thank you very much.